In my old life, I died trying to hold up a collapsing wall with a folding chair. In my new life, my only spell created a wall that looked even less reliable than the chair. It stood in the centre of the Redstone Academy examination field. The left side was as high as my shoulder. The right side barely reached my chest. A crack ran through the middle before the dust had even settled. 500 students stared at it. Then the measuring crystal touched the stone and announced that its durability was 18. For one long second, nobody spoke. Brock laughed first. He had finished his own test a few minutes earlier. His skill had produced 3 iron barriers with a combined durability of 900. The instructors had given him 94 points. He wore his new silver badge as if he had personally defeated a dragon instead of building a metal box. 18, he said. My breakfast tray has better defense. The students laughed. Even several instructors smiled. Dean Soren crossed the field in his clean red coat and struck my wall with his cane. A pebble fell off. Finn, he said through the voice crystal. Single wall has no attack power, special resistance or formation link. 1 point out of 100. My name fell to the bottom of the public ranking. Then my combat scholarship disappeared. Weak students normally received 1 month to improve. Soren removed me immediately, cancelled my housing and meals, and assigned me to the repair brigade for 1 silver coin a day. My academy debt was 8 gold. Brock suggested housing me in the storm-damaged tool shed behind the western dormitory. It still had a roof, but had lost one side. Approved, Soren said. A builder should be grateful for any roof. My ruined address appeared beside my single point and the public laughter returned. I did not argue. An argument would not restore my scholarship. It would only give Brock a second performance. I touched the rough stone. A thin mana current turned inward at the crack and returned to its starting point. Cora noticed. She was the highest-ranked architecture student and the only person not laughing. The mana line claws without formation marks, she said. Brock tapped the crack with his boot. It returned because it got lost. Soren ended the test before Cora could examine it. Workers dragged the wall toward the scrap pit while she watched. I remembered that. Holt, the repair chief, met me after sunset. He gave me a dented shovel, a straw mattress, and 14 work orders. My daily silver would lose 40 copper for meals and 20 for tools. The shovel's handle was already tied together with rope. Behind Holt, workers wore torn boots while his were new. The shed had 3 walls, a leaking roof, and a missing side wide enough for a horse. Clear it tonight, Holt said. Move stone at dawn. I asked to repair the gap with my skill. Use your own mana and stone, he replied. Anything you build belongs to the academy. He left with the workers. The smallest worker remained for a moment. His name was Pell. His left arm was tied against his chest. Do not buy dinner from the repair kitchen, he whispered. The soup is hot water with a memory of cabbage. He handed me half a hard roll and hurried after the others. I had 3 copper coins, half a roll, and 60 points of mana. It was not the worst starting capital I'd ever seen. The folding chair had been worse. I cleared rainwater and rotten boards for 2 hours. Beneath an old canvas I found slightly more than 40 kilograms of broken foundation stone. That was exactly what my skill required. At midnight, the system finally spoke. It identified an unclaimed structure with 1 incomplete boundary. If I completed a closed room with my own wall, the room would join my territory and gain 1 effect based on its true purpose. At 10 active rooms, I could unlock Fortress Architect. 30 underground rooms led to Dungeon Creator. The Lost Owner's Room led to Territory Lord. 3 hidden classes came from 1 useless wall. The system changed only one rule. Buildings in this world were dead objects. Mine did not have to be. I looked around the shed. The 3 old walls and the roof were still connected. The missing side measured slightly less than 2 meters. If I filled it, the structure would become a room. I placed the broken stone in a line. Single wall consumed 20 points of mana. It also consumed 40 kilograms of nearby mineral material. I had enough for 1 attempt. I pressed both hands to the ground. The stone pile dissolved into brown light. A wall rose through it with a sound like a giant grinding its teeth. The low, rough wall leaned toward the shed, but it was wide enough to close the gap. The instant its edge touched the old brick, warm light ran around the floor. It climbed the 3 older walls, crossed the roof, and returned through my new stone. The wind stopped at the doorway. The system told me that I had completed a territory room with an area of 12 square meters. It asked me to establish its purpose. Training room, I said. Nothing happened. I had spent the evening cleaning and building, not training. The system reminded me that a room accepted its true use, not a convenient name. I took the dented shovel and practiced the basic reinforcement movement every repair worker learned. Feet apart, hands steady, mana through the tool and into the target. I repeated it 100 times. The room accepted the purpose. Warm pressure settled over my arms. 1 hour of training inside would now count as 3. The room could support 1 person at its current level. If any wall broke, the effect would vanish. The effect could not be changed until the room had served its purpose for 7 days. Simple, useful rules. I had 39 mana left after closing the room and activating it. I trained for 6 hours, practicing reinforcement and repairing the crack 1 grain at a time. The room turned them into 18 hours of growth. Reinforcement rose from level 1 to level 3. Single wall reached level 4. My mana increased from 60 to 72, and the wall's durability rose from 18 to 74. It remained crooked, but it could stop a charging horse. At dawn, someone kicked the hanging door open. Brock entered first. He had brought 12 students, 2 measuring crystals, and a basket of sweet rolls. Apparently, public humiliation improved his appetite. "You actually slept here," he said. I was standing beside the wall with the shovel in my hands. "No," I said. "I trained." Brock looked at my wet clothes and dusty face. "That is worse." The other students laughed. Cora arrived behind them. She carried the same blue plans and a small brass instrument. Tess, the president of the student council, followed her with 2 patrol students. Tess had heard that Brock planned an unauthorized test on academy property. She liked rules more than Brock liked audiences. "Nobody attacks anything until I know who is paying for the damage," she said. Brock pointed at my wall. "That thing will fall if I breathe too hard." "Then breathing on it should be enough," Tess said. "Why did you bring combat crystals?" Several repair workers gathered outside. Holt stood behind them, rubbing sleep from his face. The audience had grown to almost 40 people. Cora placed a measuring crystal against the stone. 74 durability, she said. Brock's smile stopped. Holt pushed through the doorway. Impossible. He measured 18 yesterday. Yesterday it was not part of this room, Cora said. She ran the brass instrument along the edge. The needle turned in a complete circle. The closed mana line is stronger now. Brock bit into a sweet roll and chewed as if it had offended him. A durability of 74 is still trash. My lowest attack has a force of 60. Then the wall survives, I said. He swallowed. 1 attack, perhaps. 3, I said. The room became quiet. Brock smiled again. If it survives 3 attacks, I will pay you 30 silver. 30 silver was a full month of repair wages after food and tool fees. And if it falls? Tess asked. Finn works for my training team for 10 days. Tess looked at me. Do you accept? I examined Brock's mana. He had used part of it showing off before breakfast. His first attack would be around 60. The second might reach 80. He would save everything else for the third. My wall had 74 durability. It also stood inside a training room. I accept. Tess recorded the agreement. Cora moved the measuring crystal where everyone could see it. Brock stepped outside the room. His class allowed him to produce a blunt iron charge from his palms. It was designed to break shields without cutting the person behind them. He raised both hands. Try not to cry when your house falls. Try not to damage the Academy's sweet rolls, I said. Someone behind him laughed before remembering whose side they were on. Brock fired. The iron charge struck the centre of my wall. Dust filled the shed. The hanging door slammed against the old brick. Pell covered his head with his good arm. The measuring crystal flashed. The attack force was 62. The wall's durability fell from 74 to 46. Then the room recognized that the wall was being trained. 3 hours of defensive practice entered it at once. My reinforcement skill improved. The crack sealed. The durability rose to 81. Cora stared at the crystal. Holt stared at Cora. Brock stared at both of them. Again, I said. The second charge struck with a force of 83. Stone chips flew across the floor. One bounced into Brock's basket and buried itself in a sweet roll. The wall dropped to 29 durability. Then it rose to 97. This time everyone saw it. One of the repair workers whispered that the wall had healed. Another corrected him. It had not healed. It had become stronger. The whisper escaped through the doorway. Students outside repeated it. A pair of runners left for the morning training field. Brock's face turned red. He had come to break a wall. Instead, he was teaching it. That crystal is defective, he said. Cora picked up the second crystal he had brought. It showed the same number. Tess folded her arms. 1 attack remains. By then, more than 100 students stood outside the shed. The rumour had moved faster than breakfast. Brock threw the damaged sweet roll away and gathered all his remaining mana. The iron charge in front of his hands grew from the size of a plate to the size of a barrel. His knees shook. Sweat ran down his forehead. The measuring crystals estimated a force of 138. My wall had 97 durability. I placed my palm against it. I had 21 mana left. Basic reinforcement required 10. I used 20. The stone darkened. Brock released his attack. The noise shook dust from the roof. For a moment, I saw nothing but grey. Someone screamed that the shed had collapsed. Then the dust moved. The roof remained above us. The 3 old walls remained. My crooked wall remained. Its durability had fallen to 11. The training effect arrived. My reinforcement rose another level. Single wall rose another level. The room treated Brock's full attack as 3 successful defensive exercises. The durability climbed to 143. The remaining force had nowhere to go. It returned through Brock's iron charge. His own spell pushed him backward across the wet yard. He passed through the crowd, struck Holt's empty wheelbarrow and folded into it with both legs in the air. The wheelbarrow rolled down the path. It stopped in a puddle. Brock's silver badge landed beside him. Nobody laughed for 2 heartbeats. Then the repair workers began, and the sound spread through the students. Cora did not laugh. She looked at me as if I had just moved a mountain by measuring it carefully. The Public Defense Board updated. My examination score remained 1. Below it, a new record appeared. Highest first-year single structure defense belonged to Finn. 143 durability. Brock's name moved to 2nd place. He climbed out of the wheelbarrow covered in brown water and 1 crushed sweet roll. Tess held out her hand. 30 silver. He paid in front of everyone. Holt tried to step between us. The room belongs to the academy. Any earnings from tests performed here should go through the repair office. The floor lit beneath his boots. The system announced the registered territory owner aloud. It said my name. Holt stepped back so quickly that he struck the door. The remaining hinge broke. The door fell at his feet. That earned a second wave of laughter. By noon, every announcement board reported that the useless wall mage had built a barrier that grew stronger when attacked. One rumour claimed I had thrown the wheelbarrow at Brock. I did not correct it. I paid 12 silver for 2 loads of good stone. I saved 15. With the remaining 3, I bought a pot of beef stew, a round loaf, roasted onions, and a small dish of yellow butter. The stew was thick enough to hold the spoon upright. Pieces of beef broke apart when I pressed them against the bowl. The bread was hot, and the butter melted into it before I took the first bite. I carried the pot to the repair yard. Pell and the other workers looked at it with the respect normally reserved for sacred relics. "This is not cabbage water," Pell said. "No," I agreed. "It has met a cow." We ate inside the new training room because the morning wind was cold. Cora arrived with her brass instrument. I gave her the last clean bowl. "You spent 3 silver feeding the crew," she said. "They witnessed the test." Witnesses usually receive thanks, not beef. "Pell gave me half his bread when I had 3 copper." She looked from Pell to me. Until then she had studied the wall. Now she studied its builder. She sat on the crate beside me and spread 1 blue plan across her knees. "Your wall was crooked only on the outside," she said. "Its manner line was a perfect closed curve. I think the physical shape does not matter as much as the boundary." "That is what I think." "You knew." "I knew after Brock paid to test it 3 times. She laughed into her stew. It was the first quiet sound I had heard from her. That evening, the workers returned to their dormitory. Cora left after promising to bring proper measuring tools. I closed the broken door with a rope and lay on the straw mattress. In 1 night, my mana had reached 72. The wall had reached 143 durability, and my skill had risen 4 levels. I owned 15 silver and 2 loads of stone. More than 100 witnesses had seen my name reach the top of the first-year defense board. I was planning how to build a proper sleeping room when the floor beneath my mattress turned gold. Light formed a circle under the straw. Lines spread beyond the shed, passed under the dormitory, and continued toward the center of the academy. Then a girl's voice spoke from somewhere far below me. "Creator identity partially confirmed," she said. "Welcome back, Finn." The system followed with a colder message. Redstone Academy had been built above my first territory. Full control could be restored only from the owner's room beneath the 100th underground floor. Before I could stand, something knocked once from below the stone. Then it knocked again. The third knock came from the door. I preferred that direction. Cora stood outside with a wooden case of measuring tools. Behind her waited Tess, Pell, and 12 repair workers. Holt stood at the back with a document rolled tightly in one hand. I looked at the glowing floor. The light had vanished. Whatever lived below the academy had decided that 2 knocks were enough for one night. "Did we wake you?" Cora asked. "Something else did." I opened the door wider. The room smelled of yesterday's stew and wet stone. The wall Brock had attacked remained at 143 durability. During the night, my mana had recovered by 8 points. Normal recovery was 1 point each hour. At that speed, a fortress would require several years and an impressive amount of sleeping. Tess entered and placed a sealed contract on the crate. "The Student Council wants to lease this room for defensive training," she said. 7 days, 30 silver in advance and 30 after the trial. Holt unrolled his own document. "The repair office rejects the lease. The shed is academy property." The floor glowed under him. The system repeated that the territory room belonged to Finn. Pell coughed into his hand. It sounded suspiciously like a laugh. Holt stepped back outside. Tess pointed to a smaller line in the contract. "The academy owns the old bricks and the land. You own the active room effect and the wall that completed it. Nobody wrote laws for this situation." "Then we need new laws," Cora said. Tess gave her a tired look. "I was hoping for breakfast first." Pell placed a paper bag on the crate. Inside were 4 cheese flatbreads, boiled eggs, and 2 red apples. The bread was still warm. Melted cheese stretched when I pulled one piece apart. I had learned that serious negotiations improved when nobody was hungry. We divided the food while Tess explained the next problem. The repair workers' dormitory had failed its safety inspection. A section of the north wall had collapsed and rain had soaked every bed. 40 workers were sleeping in the tool warehouse. The Academy's Founder Festival began in 2 days. Visitors from the capital would inspect every building. "The normal repair contract is 3 gold, Tess said. Holt's office accepted it 6 weeks ago." Every worker looked at Holt. He examined the sky. "The imported stone was delayed." Pell lowered his voice. "It arrived 4 weeks ago." It was the wrong colour. The dormitory stood behind the kitchen. 3 carts of red stone sat beside it under clean canvas. Each cart carried the repair office seal. The stone was the exact colour of the missing wall. Holt's motivation became clear. If the dormitory remained broken, he could request emergency funding after the festival. Emergency funding was difficult to count and easy to move. Tess handed me a second contract. "If you complete the repair today and it passes inspection, the council will pay you the 3 gold. Holt laughed. "The missing section is almost 6 meters wide. He can create 1 wall. 1. 1 per cast," I said. He stopped laughing. My skill had reached level 5. One segment now cost 18 mana instead of 20. I had 72 maximum mana and 47 available. I could cast twice immediately. I needed 3 segments. "I will finish before sunset," I said. Holt leaned close enough for me to smell mint on his breath. "If you touch repair office stone without my permission, I will charge you 6 gold. Tess lifted the contract. "The Student Council controls safety work during the festival. This is permission." 20 students had gathered by then. The story of Brock and the wheelbarrow had given my repairs an audience. Holt noticed them. He smiled. "Fine, let him try. When the building fails inspection, everyone will know yesterday was a trick." He wanted a public failure. I wanted 3 carts of stone and a legal signature. We were both satisfied. The dormitory was a long brick building with a solid roof and one missing side. Rows of wet beds filled the interior. A pot of cold porridge sat on the central stove. The surface had become firm enough to support a spoon without assistance. Cora measured the gap. 5 meters and 70 centimeters. 3 wall segments would close it. I had enough material. Mana was the problem. I returned to the training room with Cora and practiced mana circulation for 3 hours. The room turned those hours into 9. My control improved, but my available mana recovered by only 3. 50 mana was not enough for 3 casts. I could wait until night and lose the inspection, or I could improve the skill until its cost fell. I practiced single wall without completing a cast. I formed the pattern, stopped before it touched the stone, released it, and began again. Each failure cost 1 point of mana. Inside the training room, each pattern counted 3 times. After 8 attempts, single wall reached level 6. The cost fell from 18 mana to 16. I had 42 mana remaining. I still needed 48. Cora watched the final pattern dissolve. "Your shoulders tighten at the 3rd line," she said. "The stone resists there." "No, you expect it to resist." She moved behind me and touched 2 fingers between my shoulder blades. "The mana curve is already closed. Stop forcing it forward, let it return." I tried again. The 3rd line bent inward. The pattern completed without the usual pressure. My control skill rose another level. The cost of single wall fell to 14 mana. 3 casts required 42. Exactly what I had. "Useful advice," I said. "My family charges 5 gold for useful advice." "I have an apple." She considered it. "I will accept the apple as a first payment." We returned to the dormitory. Almost 80 people waited outside. Brock stood near the rear in clean clothes and muddy boots. He had come to see whether yesterday's wall could be repeated. I placed the first 40 kilograms of stone along the open foundation. The first segment rose. It leaned slightly to the left. The crowd murmured. I created the second. It leaned slightly to the right. Brock began to smile. I created the third between them. It stood straight. The edges touched. All 3 walls pulled against one another. The first leaned inward. The second leaned inward. The straight segment locked them together. Mana moved through the whole building. The dormitory became a territory room. My available mana fell to 0. I remained standing. That earned the first shocked reaction. Holt pushed forward with the academy inspector. The inspector used 4 crystals and a heavy brass hammer. The walls measured 112 durability. The roof measured 80. The old eastern wall measured 61. The new construction was the strongest part of the building. "It passes," the inspector said. Tess held up the signed result. The crowd applauded. Holt did not. "A safe wall does not make a useful dormitory. The beds are wet. The workers cannot recover here before the festival." He was correct. The room did not yet have a purpose. I ordered the windows opened. We carried the mattresses outside. Brock watched as academy students helped repair workers beat rainwater from the blankets. I scrubbed the floor beside Pell. Cora repaired the stove's air channel. Tess found dry sheets in a festival storage room and made the quartermaster release them. Holt contributed by standing where everyone could see how little he contributed. By late afternoon, the dormitory was warm. 40 clean beds stood in 2 rows. Onion soup simmered on the stove. Someone added potatoes. Someone else added smoked meat. The smell reached the path and the number of volunteers doubled. Pell had worked since dawn. His face was grey and his injured arm shook. "Lie down," I said. "The inspector may return." "Then he can inspect you sleeping." Pell removed his boots and lay on the first bed. One by one the other workers followed. The room accepted its true purpose. Soft amber light moved under the beds. The system told me that I had created a rest room. Genuine sleep inside restored 10 extra mana or an equal amount of physical stamina each hour. The effect could operate for 8 hours each day. At its current level, it supported 40 registered residents. I granted permission to the repair workers. Pell slept for 1 hour. When he woke, the dark circles under his eyes had faded. He lifted his injured arm without wincing. The room had not healed the bone. It had done what good sleep should do, only 10 times faster. Tess requested a controlled test before the inspector arrived. 3 festival runners had spent the morning carrying messages between the gates. Their stamina crystals showed 9, 11, and 12 points remaining out of 100. Each lay down for 30 minutes while 2 healers watched. When they woke, the crystals showed 59, 61, and 62. The first runner believed the crystal had failed. He ran around the dormitory 5 times, returned without losing his breath, and asked whether he could rent the bed until graduation. Word reached the festival volunteers. They formed a line outside before Tess explained that the room supported only 40 registered residents. That limit mattered. I could not restore an army with 1 bedroom. I could restore 40 exhausted workers who had never been given enough time to sleep. The healers signed the result. Both had tested recovery rooms built with expensive formations. Their best one restored 4 extra stamina each hour and cost 200 gold. Mine restored 10 and had cost 3 walls. The inspector returned with Soren and more than 200 festival volunteers. They watched Pell stand. They watched 3 exhausted workers enter, sleep for 20 minutes and return with enough strength to move a stone cart. They watched the measuring crystals record the change. The second shocked reaction travelled across the academy before sunset. My ability did not apply only to me. Anyone I permitted could use the room. The Public Service Board added a new line beneath my defensive record. Finn had completed an emergency dormitory repair in 1 day. 40 workers had received registered access. My builder status changed from labourer to provisional contractor. Tess paid 3 gold into my hand. It was more money than I had held since entering the academy. 1 gold equaled 100 silver. Yesterday I had owned 3 copper. Now I owned 3 gold, 45 silver, 2 stone carts, and a 7-day training lease. Holt reached for the contract. The repair office supervised the work. Payment must be processed through me. The workers formed a line between us. Pell stood at the front. Tess read the contract aloud. It named me as the builder. Cora showed the inspector the manor record. Every new segment carried my skill pattern. Holt had supervised nothing except his own boots. He changed his approach. The active room is located in a repair office building. I am the chief. Register me as owner. No, I said. His jaw tightened. He placed his palm on the central wall and tried to force an academy ownership seal into it. The room rejected him. All 40 beds tipped upward at once. The mattresses slid toward the centre aisle. Holt had been standing there. He disappeared under a soft mountain of blankets. 200 witnesses stared. Then Pell began clapping. The other workers joined him. Holt fought his way out with a pillow stuck over his head. The ownership crystal on his belt had cracked down the middle. The room announced that unauthorized control had been denied. Tess recorded that too. Holt left without another word. His new boots squeaked all the way across the yard. That night, the workers held their first proper meal in the restored dormitory. The onion soup had become a thick stew. Cubes of smoked meat floated between potatoes and carrots. The cook placed hot cheese rolls beside every bowl. I ate with Cora on the front step. The sunset coloured the new walls deep red. You could charge each worker for access, she said. I could. A normal recovery potion costs 5 silver. 1 night in that room is worth more than a month of their wages. That is why I will not charge them. She broke her cheese roll in half. Steam escaped from the centre. My father says a building proves its value through rent. A dormitory proves its value when the people inside wake up. Cora looked through the open door. Pell was teaching another worker how to eat soup with his injured hand. Nobody was sleeping in the tool warehouse. That answer would make my father angry, she said. Is he nearby? No. Then it is a good answer. She smiled and gave me the larger half of her roll. After dinner, my manor was still empty. Pell offered me the first bed. I slept for 6 hours. The rest room restored 60 extra mana. My natural recovery added 6. When I woke, my reserve had reached the new maximum of 78. Yesterday, a full reserve allowed 3 walls. Now it allowed 5. My power had nearly doubled without changing the basic skill. Cora was asleep at a table with her head on a roll of plans. Tess had left a small ownership seal beside her. I went outside for air. Golden light appeared beneath the dormitory. It passed under the kitchen, crossed the yard and stopped beneath the old laundry building. The ground shook. Students ran from the dormitories. Workers carried lanterns. Tess arrived in her coat with the buttons fastened in the wrong order. The laundry floor split along a straight line. Stone steps descended into darkness. At the bottom stood an iron door covered in the same inward curving manor pattern as my first wall. Lumi's distant voice came through it. Creator, the first lower room has opened. Then the metal bent outward. Something on the other side had just struck it with enough force to register 200 durability damage. The iron door could survive 3 more strikes. The next one reduced that estimate to 2. Students ran from the laundry building. Tess cleared the courtyard while Cora followed me down the steps with measuring crystals. Brock came behind us with an iron shield. You have 78 mana, Cora said. 77. Why one less? I tested whether fear improved recovery. Did it? No. Dark horns forced through the door. The creature behind it was a granite ram twice the size of a normal animal. Red mana burned between the plates of its face. Its next charge would break the iron and continue toward the worker dormitory. I used 14 mana to create one wall behind the bottom step. It completed a narrow chamber between the wall and the door. The ram struck. The iron split. The chamber accepted its true purpose. It became a guard room. The impact did not hit one surface. It spread through the floor, side walls, ceiling, new wall, and broken door. 6 surfaces each took less than 40 force. The ram stopped so suddenly that its rear legs rose into the air. For one beautiful second it stood on its face. Cora's crystals recorded everything. A room can divide force, she said. This room can. The ram pulled itself upright and charged again. This time it faced the broken door. The guard room sent most of the force into the weakest surface. The remaining iron burst inward and the ram rolled into the dark hall beyond. Brock looked through the opening. Did you kill it? A roar answered him. No, I said. I improved its mood. The hall beyond was the first room of the lost dungeon. One section of its circular wall had collapsed. To reclaim it, I had to complete that boundary while the ram stood between me and the stone. Brock raised his shield. The creature hit him and carried him across the floor like a metal tray. Cora and I ran along the outer edge. The broken section measured less than 2 meters. Fallen granite provided enough material. I created one wall. The circle closed. Gold light returned to the room. Its old purpose had been defensive training. Every successful defense inside counted 4 times. Brock's shield had survived 1 charge. The room treated it as 4. His skill rose 2 levels. The iron thickened around the ram's horns and trapped them. Brock looked less like a heroic warrior and more like a door attached to an angry goat. More than 100 people watched through Tess's relay crystal. Cora pointed at a cracked support above the creature. I weakened the surrounding stone and Brock released his shield straps. The ram charged at my new wall. The guard room distributed its force into the support. The ceiling block fell. The ram collapsed beneath it. Brock's final iron charge shattered the red core. The creature dissolved. The crowd in the courtyard erupted. My combat rank rose from last place to 106th. The granite core was worth 11 gold. The academy paid 9 more for sealing the entrance, and the patrol team gave me 4 for my share. My underground room count reached 2. My resources reached 27 gold and 45 silver. My name gained a second public title. First reclaimed structure belonged to Finn. Holt arrived after the victory. He had missed the monster, the payment, and the applause. He looked at the gold record as if it had insulted his family. The Founder Festival platform still lacks certification, he said. A real builder should reinforce it. 400 capital guests would stand on that platform the next day. Holt had delayed its repair for 6 weeks. Now he offered 6 gold if I made it pass. If I refused, he would call the dungeon victory luck. If I failed, he would receive his public revenge. Tess checked the contract. The legal load test was limited to 200 force. I accepted. Cora designed 3 narrow support rooms beneath the platform. Each used one existing section and one of my walls. The first became a workshop because workers repaired beams inside it. It reduced material waste by 1/3. The second became a brace room and increased the strength of connected supports by half. The third copied the guard room pattern and distributed sudden force across 12 foundation posts. By sunset, the platform's safe capacity rose from 180 to 460. 600 students gathered for the public test. Repair workers stood in the front row. Capital visitors watched from the academy balcony. Holt operated the academy's iron testing ram. He showed Tess the control seal. Standard force, it claimed. He pulled the release. Cora's meter screamed. The ram struck with a force of 612. The platform jumped. Guests ran from the balcony with their expensive coats lifted around their knees. The guard room divided the impact. The brace room held the supports. The workshop used loose stone to repair 2 cracks before they spread. Not one chair fell. The measuring board showed 612 incoming force and 428 remaining capacity. The platform had survived more than 3 times the legal test. 600 witnesses stood and applauded. My builder rank changed from provisional contractor to certified academy builder. The public board placed my score above Holt's 11-year record. He tried to leave. Tess opened the testing controls. The safety limiter lay on the floor. Someone had removed it with a repair office key. Pell brought the material ledger. Holt had sent the platform supports and dormitory stone to a private warehouse, then charged the academy for replacements. Repair workers began naming missing wages and tools charged twice. Holt had wanted my failure in public. His own fraud received a much larger audience. Soren took his keys. The capital inspector froze the repair accounts. Then a cracked cleaning pipe above the platform released a bucket of grey water. It landed on Holt. Nobody had planned that part. Pell laughed until he had to sit down. The recovered funds and festival contract raised my resources to 32 gold. Pell became temporary repair chief. His first order was to buy new boots for every worker. That night we ate beneath the repaired platform. Pell roasted chicken over a small iron stove. The skin became brown and crisp. Potatoes cooked beneath it in the dripping fat. Cora brought pickled carrots. Tess brought dark bread, and Brock arrived with sweet rolls. He placed them far from my walls. I learned from the first basket, he said. Nobody asked him to leave. He had held the granite ram long enough for us to win. That did not erase the examination. It gave him a place to begin repairing it. Cora sat beside me on a stone block and passed me the crisp half of a chicken leg. Your first room multiplied training, she said. The dormitory restored people. These rooms share force. What happens when you connect 10? The system calls that a fortress. She pointed toward the small workshop booth beside the platform. It had 4 wooden sides, a roof, and one of my stone walls. Brock and Pell lifted it onto a supply cart. The cart rolled. The room effect remained active. The system recognized my first mobile room. Cora smiled. A fortress does not have to stay in one place. The Founder Festival began the next morning. We had worked through the night. 12 supply wagons stood in 3 connected rows. Standard road golems moved beneath their wheels. Renting them and buying timber, hinges and mana crystals cost 23 gold. Each wagon held 1 completed room. There was a command room, a guard room, a brace room, a workshop, a kitchen, an infirmary, a dormitory, a mana store, a shield station, 2 casting towers, and 1 supply room. When the 12th boundary closed, golden bridges linked the wagons. The system unlocked Fortress Architect. My maximum mana increased from 78 to 110. Connected rooms could use stored territory mana. The public class board replaced Repair Labourer with Fortress Architect. Students abandoned the food stalls to see it. Soren arrived with the festival judges. 12 wagons are 12 structures, he said. Tess opened the exhibition rules. Connected defensive sections count as 1 construction. They have 12 roofs. The capital fortress has 14 towers. Those towers share a foundation. Cora touched the command crystal. All 12 road golems moved 1 step at the same time. So do ours, she said. The foundation has wheels. The nearby students laughed. The chief judge inspected every bridge, wheel, wall, and ownership mark. He walked around the fortress twice before raising his seal. 1 connected structure. Legal. Soren's expression suggested that he had swallowed one of the hinges. The capital exhibition team had brought a polished steel fortress worth 200 gold. Its captain wore armour bright enough to guide ships. Our fortress looked like 12 delivery wagons that had agreed to stay together for safety. The crowd laughed when the kitchen wagon entered backward. The movement trial came first. The steel fortress crossed the mud course in 6 minutes. Our front wagon sank to its axle. Cora synchronized all 12 road golems. The guard room shared strain, and the workshop laid spare boards beneath the wheels. We finished in 5 minutes and 40 seconds. The laughter stopped. 20 mages attacked both fortresses for 3 minutes. The steel structure lost 14% of its durability. Ours lost 9. The final trial required hitting a target 200 meters away. Brock's iron charge reached 60. The first tower doubled the range. The second doubled it again. His attack crossed 240 meters, shattered the target, and removed the head of a decorative stone chicken behind it. The head landed beside Soren. 3,000 festival visitors cheered. Then the northern arena wall exploded. Thorn wolves poured through the smoke. Stone apes followed them. Behind the first pack came a forest ogre 6 meters tall wearing a dead tree as armor. For 1 dangerous second, the crowd believed it was part of the exhibition. Then a thorn struck a judge. The polished fortress closed its doors and moved toward the private capital gate. Our 12 wagons moved between the monsters and the stands. Tess used the festival crystal. Follow the mobile fortress. Families enter the center rooms. Do not run. People listened because they had watched our trials. 3,000 visitors moved behind us. The first wave struck. The guard room divided 180 impacts. The brace room held the bridges. Pell's workers repaired cracks with 1/3 less stone. The towers doubled student spells twice. Fireballs that normally crossed 50 meters struck monsters 200 meters away. Brock's shield station stopped 6 stone apes at once. The kitchen fed defenders hot meat pies that restored 20 extra stamina. Pell carried 1 tray across a moving bridge without dropping anything. That was the best balance skill in the arena. The forest ogre raised its club. Cora measured the strike at 800 force. 2 wagons would break. We moved the kitchen and infirmary to the rear. The empty supply room turned toward the attack. The club shattered it. My active count fell from 12 rooms to 11. The ogre raised the club again. I used one wall to close the broken wagon around its weapon. The room's true purpose had become a trap. It sealed every exit for 10 seconds. The ogre pulled. The wagon remained attached to its club and dragged its balance forward. Cora drove the remaining rooms around its legs. Brock fired through both towers. 4 times his normal force struck the back of one knee. The ogre fell. Every combat student attacked. Fire, wind, ice and iron passed through the towers. Its core shattered. 44 monster cores rained across the arena. 3,000 witnesses saw the mobile fortress remain between them and the pack. The judges awarded us the festival victory and 120 gold. My share of the cores was worth 72 more. My combat rank rose to 31st, and every academy board named Fortress Architect Finn as the defender of the Founder Festival. The reaction travelled beyond Redstone. City merchants offered stone at half price for the right to place their names on a wagon. The Explorer Guild requested a defensive contract. 3 schools sent questions asking how one low wall had become 12 rooms. I had started the week with 3 copper and 8 gold of debt. Now I controlled a mobile fortress, held more than 200 gold in money and materials, and possessed a public class the Academy had not recorded in a century. Brock's festival team stood beside mine when the rankings changed. Nobody called me repair labourer again. At sunset we ate hot beef pies and tomato soup on the wagon bridges. Children dipped bread into their bowls. The capital captain returned without his bright helmet and donated his remaining mana crystals. "My orders told me to protect the delegation," he said. "They were bad orders." Before I could answer, the granite core projected a red map above the command table. The monsters we had defeated disappeared from it. Beyond them, the northern forest turned red. The first pack had not been an invasion. It had been running away. More than 3,000 monsters were approaching Redstone. At their centre moved something that made the forest ogre look like a spark. Lumi's voice came through every connected room. "Creator, outer seal failure confirmed." Under the Academy, 99 locked floors answered with one long roar. Redstone Academy held 612 students, 83 teachers, 40 repair workers, and more than 2,000 festival visitors. The Southern Road could carry 400 people each hour. The horde would arrive in 10. Evacuation was impossible. Dean Soren activated the Academy ward. A red dome covered the main hall, noble residence, and eastern tower. It protected less than 1/4 of the grounds. The common dormitories, kitchens, workshops, and repair housing remained outside. "The ward follows the donor map," Soren said. "Its channels cannot be changed." The donor map protected expensive buildings. It did not protect most people. Cora spread our plan across the command table. "Close existing holes with Finn's walls," she said. 36 rooms will form a ring around the entire academy. Soren produced an emergency transfer seal. "No first-year student will control Redstone's defence." He pressed the seal against my command room. The territory examined his authority and opened a tiny wooden panel. "Guest controls," it announced. The panel contained one bell and a lever for the nearest window. Soren pulled it by accident. Cold rain blew across his red coat. The festival relay crystals carried the image to every shelter. Hundreds of frightened students laughed.
His public authority had become fresh air. Tess recorded the failed transfer. Soren looked at the unprotected dormitories and the red forest beyond the wall. "Build it," he said. That order moved the academy. Pell divided the workers into crews. Brock recruited combat students to carry stone. Tess registered residents and safe routes. Cora measured every broken doorway and covered yard. I spent 40 gold on blocks, timber, hinges, and mana crystals. The monster cores and donated crystals raised our available reserve to 710 mana. 25 new walls required 300. Activating and reinforcing the rooms required 200 more. On paper, the plan worked. Paper had never met 3,000 monsters. We built. At 20 rooms, golden lines reached the common dormitories. At 30, every student could see them under the floor. At 36, Redstone Academy seemed to breathe. 4 guard rooms divided impact. 4 brace rooms strengthened old supports. 6 dormitories restored stamina. 3 infirmaries improved recovery. 2 kitchens strengthened meals. 5 workshops reduced repair material. 4 towers extended spells. 3 trap rooms controlled the northern courtyards. The remaining rooms stored mana, supplies, commands, and evacuees. Fortress integrity reached 7,200. The territory authorized 600 residents. I registered students first. By midday, the donor ward looked small and lonely inside the golden network. The kitchens served huge pots of chicken stew. Rich broth covered meat, carrots, peas, and soft potatoes. Workers baked flat loaves on hot stone and covered them with melting butter. 3,000 frightened people ate. Cora brought 2 bowls to the command room. She wrapped my shaking right hand with clean cloth. "If the outer ring breaks, you leave with the command wagon," she said. No. That was not a question. Then it was an unsuccessful order. She tied the cloth tighter. "I can make it more unsuccessful." We ate for 1 quiet minute. "Why were you the first person to believe the wall?" I asked. "I did not believe the wall." That is less kind than expected. "I believed the person who kept measuring while everyone laughed." The northern horn sounded. The first wave filled the field at sunset. Thorn wolves ran between stone apes. Flying lizards covered the sky. Behind them walked a root colossus 12 meters tall. Its first strike measured more than 2,000 force. The academy ward killed 100 wolves. The next 100 crossed their bodies. Our towers opened. 200 student spells passed through linked rooms. Their range doubled twice. Fire crossed the field. Students who had never hit a target beyond 30 meters struck monsters at 120. Defensive training rooms counted each success 4 times. The first wave broke. The second came from below. Burrowing lizards entered the western courtyard. A trap room sealed around 30 of them and tilted toward an empty fountain. Brock dropped an iron barrier over the top and sat on it while eating a meat pie. "This is tactical weight," he told 50 witnesses. The third wave struck the dormitory. 600 impacts entered the network. Guard rooms divided them. Workshops repaired 12 smaller cracks instead of 1 collapsed building. Our material fell from 20 carts to 14. Then the root colossus reached the north wall. Soren's donor ward fired a beam. It burned through one shoulder. The colossus struck twice. The red dome shattered. Capital guests ran from the noble residence into my golden corridors. Soren followed them. Guest access remains available, the command room announced. Even during the invasion, the shelters laughed. Soren did not argue. My beam wounded it, he said. Your towers can extend it. Public humiliation had removed his control, not his usefulness. I granted casting permission. Cora moved the mobile wagons into the northern courtyard. 3 trap rooms locked around the Colossus's feet and trailing roots. Soren fired. The beam passed through 3 towers. 2 times. 4. 8 times its original force struck the wounded shoulder. The Colossus lost 1 arm. It broke free and swung the other. Brock raised his gold rank barrier. 600 students sent mana through the network. The strike carried 2,090 force. 4 guard rooms divided it across 36 rooms. Windows broke. Roof tiles flew. 1 dormitory lost a wall. No room collapsed. The defensive action counted 4 times. Brock's skill advanced. His barrier became a solid iron wall. Cora drove the wagons into the creature's knees. The road golems pushed together. The Colossus fell. Every tower fired. Its core shattered. Without its command, the remaining monsters attacked without order. We held for 2 more hours. Kitchens fed defenders. Dormitories restored them in short shifts. Infirmaries returned the wounded. Workshops rebuilt walls. The fortress won because every room performed 1 honest task. Near midnight, the final Thorn Wolf fell. 600 students remained alive. 3,000 visitors had shelter. 31 rooms still worked. The city awarded 500 gold for protection. My share of the monster cores added 200. My funds rose above 800 gold. The public board named me Guardian of Redstone. Soren stood beneath it with every student watching. He removed my scholarship cancellation and restored my housing. 1 point was an incorrect judgment, he said through the relay. The crowd waited. Mine. He bowed. I did not make him repeat it. The students repeated it enough. We ate victory noodles in the northern courtyard. The kitchens poured thick chicken stew over them and added fresh bread with honey. Cora sat beside me on the command wagon. 36 rooms, she said. 31. You count broken rooms during celebrations? Especially during celebrations. She placed honey-covered bread in my hand. Count that. Golden light gathered above the broken Colossus core. It formed a transparent girl with white hair and gold eyes. Guardian Spirit Lumi reporting to the Creator, she said. The ground opened behind her. A gate displayed 100 underground floors. The first glowed gold. 99 were red. Lumi projected a small fortress with 1 crooked outer wall. I knew it. In my old life, before the folding chair, I had designed that fortress in a forgotten building game. I had named it First Home. That was a game, I said. No, Creator. It was a remote path into this territory. My computer had connected to a sleeping core across worlds. Every block I placed had moved mana here. After my death, the connection vanished. Settlers later built Redstone Academy above First Home. The owner's room waited below the 100th floor. Something called the Hollow Regent occupied the seal above it. Black carriages entered the courtyard before dawn. Royal guards formed 2 lines. Lord Varric stepped between them with 40 bureau architects and a drilling machine stained by the same black stone as the dungeon gate. He placed a confiscation order over my name. All fortresses beneath royal academies belong to the crown. Tess demanded a public hearing. 600 students, the Explorer Guild, city officials, and every festival crystal watched. Varric pointed to the monster remains. One student controls a structure capable of sheltering an army and producing monsters. If he loses control tomorrow, Redstone becomes a weapon. His argument was not foolish. It was incomplete. Lumi projected a memory. The Bureau drilling machine had entered through a hidden northern tunnel 1 month earlier. Its operators removed red mana stone from the 80th floor seal. That damage woke the monsters. The courtyard erupted. Varric did not deny the royal crest on the drill. The extraction was intended to supply northern defences, he said. The damage makes royal control more necessary. Tess opened the Academy Charter. It gave the Crown ownership only over structures built after Redstone. First home came first. Varric challenged the evidence. Reach the 50th floor before sunset. If its original seal names Finn, I will grant provisional ownership. If not, everything transfers to the Bureau. I accepted. The Explorer Guild connected relay crystals to the descent. Cora, Brock, Pell, Lumi and I entered. 20 royal architects followed as observers. The first floors contained broken guard posts, workshops, training halls and rest stations. Each required one missing boundary. I closed them. At 10 underground rooms, the map expanded. At 20, my maximum mana reached 200. At 30, the system unlocked Dungeon Creator. It did not grant a second cheat. It allowed connected challenge rooms to control entry conditions and distribute rewards. Training constructs stopped killing defeated students. Reward rooms condensed excess wild mana into clean cores. Rest rooms supported registered teams. The public boards counted every result. By the 20th floor, we had 200 ordinary cores worth 1,200 gold. At the 25th floor, the Bureau observer tried his royal command seal on an ancient lift. The lift examined his authority and carried him back to the first floor alone. His relay crystal remained active while 12 training hounds waited beside him. The city watched him request visitor permission before the lift agreed to return. The 30th held the Bureau's hidden extraction tunnel and 20 crates of stolen redstone worth another 1,000. The record carried Varric's office seal. City officials shouted through the relay. Varric watched in the courtyard. I authorized testing, he said. I did not authorize breaking the seal. He had needed stone for distant walls and chosen not to ask who paid for it. Redstone had paid. We sealed the tunnel. The wild monster count outside began to fall. At 40 underground rooms, the territory revealed another consequence. Registered residents could lend mana by choice and receive part of room effects in return. I opened the request to Redstone. Pell sent the first 10 mana. Students sent 800. Teachers sent 400. Even Soren emptied his reserve. The territory pool rose by 1,640. Restrooms returned 5 stamina to every donor. Training rooms granted an hour of accelerated practice. Skills advanced across the academy. Varric had called first home one student's private weapon. 600 witnesses had just powered it voluntarily. At the 40th floor, we stopped for hot beef pockets cooked over an ancient forge. Cora filled thin dough with meat, onions and herbs. Clear broth escaped with each bite. Varric offered me a bureau position, she said. How much? 50 gold each week and a city house.
You should decide based on what you want.
I did.
She looked at the rooms students and workers had powered together.
I want to build places that know why they exist.
Her hand found mine beneath the table. She did not make a speech. She simply stayed. The 50th floor held a judgment room and the original seal. The Bureau observer tried his royal command mark first. Red chains wrapped around him. The room announced his ownership score as 0. The city square laughed. I told the room to release its visitor. It obeyed me. Then I sat in the judgment chair. The seal showed my first game wall, the rebuilt dormitory, the mobile fortress, and 600 students lending mana by choice. It turned gold. My authority was incomplete because the owner's room remained below the 100th floor. Still, it measured 81%. The system recognized me as territory holder of the upper 50 floors. Every redstone board removed the confiscation order. When we returned, Varric signed the provisional charter before thousands of witnesses. Then he unfolded a second document. A private strategic fortress remains subject to the Royal Siege Clause. Horns sounded outside the academy. 2,000 Bureau soldiers surrounded Redstone. 6 siege towers rose behind them. Varric looked at the charter in Tess's hands. At dawn, we test whether your territory deserves to survive. The Royal Siege Clause allowed 6 hours of regulated attacks. I had to protect the residents, preserve half the fortress, and avoid killing inspectors. If I failed, the Bureau took everything. If I passed, the Crown owed triple repair costs and permanent recognition. Tess found the final requirement. The test had to be publicly recorded. Varric's relay crystals connected 60 cities. He had planned to show the kingdom an inexperienced student losing his fortress. By sunrise, tens of thousands watched. I spent 3,000 gold on stone, medicine, food, and legal mana crystals. Cora and Pell added 28 narrow rooms along existing corridors. Our surface network reached 59 rooms. Combined with the upper dungeon, First Home held 121. Fortress integrity reached 21,000. The territory mana pool held 3,400. The first 2 siege towers fired. 4,000 force struck the north wall. Guard rooms divided it. Workshops repaired the cracks. Integrity fell by 600, then recovered by 200. The national relay announced both numbers. Redstone cheered. 1,000 soldiers entered through 3 gates. The first trap corridor redirected 200 of them into the dining hall. Pell had placed onion soup and fresh bread on every table. A sign offered release after surrendering suppression seals. One soldier tasted the soup. He placed his seal in the basket. The others followed. 200 royal inspectors surrendered for lunch while the kingdom watched. Another unit entered the second-floor training hall. 12 stone hounds chased them through 3 laps before their captain requested visitor access. Their movement skills improved. Their siege did not. Cora moved the mobile wagons around the remaining formation. I closed 3 gaps with walls. The soldiers found themselves inside a completed parade room. Its purpose was formation training, so every member heard every command clearly. I asked whether they wanted to fight inside a hostile territory or join the soup line. 912 chose soup. 88 chose the training hounds because the line was shorter. The public board displayed the vote. Varric had 400 soldiers left. He entered the main siege tower himself. Its weapon used red stone stolen from the dungeon.
Lumi warned that the crystal still connected to the 80th floor seal. "Remove it," I told him. "It passed royal inspection." "The royal inspection caused the invasion." He fired. The bolt carried 9,800 force. I refused to distribute any of it underground. The surface rooms took everything. Windows burst. 3 roofs collapsed. The founder statue lost its head. Integrity fell from 14,000 to 6,100. The bureau announcer declared failure. Then 600 students donated mana. The surrendered soldiers joined them. Workshops consumed stored stone. Dormitories restored workers. Kitchens supplied stamina. Integrity climbed to 7,000. 8. 10,700. Half the original strength was 10,500. The fortress passed by 200. 60 city squares erupted. Varric walked alone through the northern gate. The command room rolled 1 chair into the courtyard. Guest inspection seat, its label said. The entire kingdom saw him sit. Tess presented the permanent charter. Varric signed it and approved 20,000 gold in repair compensation. The board named me Royal Guardian of Redstone. Then the red siege crystal cracked. It dissolved into mana and returned through the extraction link. Far below us, it struck the damaged 80th floor seal. The ground rolled. Every underground room went dark. Lumi fell from the air into my arms. "The Hollow Regent has awakened." The dungeon map appeared. Floors 51 through 79 turned black. The 80th became an open eye. The Regent spoke through every national relay. "You built another home above my prison." Varric removed his command seal. "My order caused this," he said. "Use my soldiers." Before the kingdom, the man who had tried to seize my territory requested resident permission for 2,000 bureau troops. I granted it. Their mana entered first home. Tess commanded the surface. Pell managed repairs. Soren organized the towers. Cora, Brock, Varric, Lumi and I descended. The Hollow Regent did not destroy walls. It erased their purpose. On the 51st floor, a light room went dark without taking damage. Cora stopped me before I rebuilt it. "Light is what it does. Why does it exist?" We stood together inside the boundary. "So we can find one another," she said. The room became a guide room. Gold paths marked every ally. The Regent attacked. The effect held. It could erase a function. It could not erase a reason shared by people. That discovery carried us downward. On the 60th floor, we reclaimed the treasury. It held ancient cores and rebuilding materials worth 50,000 gold. The Royal Treasury sent an immediate claim through the relay. Tess rejected it with the charter Varric had signed minutes earlier. The city squares laughed. "My office will stop sending forms," Varric said. "Can it?" "No, but I can stop reading them." At the 70th floor, the Hollow Regent waited. Red smoke filled a black royal coat. A smooth stone mask covered its face. Thousands of erased room names floated around it. "Your guardian placed walls because numbers rewarded him," it told the kingdom. "Remove the numbers, and he is empty." I did not answer with a speech. I opened Pell's food pack. Beside the archive stood a chamber with a broken oven. I closed its missing wall. Cora set roast beef sandwiches and baked apples on the table. Brock lit the fire. Varric opened the shutters. The room accepted its purpose.
It existed so people crossing dangerous floors could stop, eat, and return alive. It became a shelter room. Golden light pushed the regent away. The numbers did not choose this, I said. We did. Above us, registered residents responded. Students, soldiers, workers and teachers sent 7,000 mana. The regent's stone mask cracked. The public reaction reached us through 70 floors. It retreated to the 80th. We ate while moving. The beef was still warm. Mustard and pickled onions cut through the rich meat. Lumi discovered pepper again and attacked her sandwich harder than necessary. The 80th floor was the damaged prison seal. The regent raised one hand. Red crystals fired from every wall. Brock's barrier shattered. Varric's royal shield cracked. 3 of my walls lasted 1 second. Cora pointed at the old channels. The room was called a prison. Change what it means. We could not lie. True purposes could grow. This is the boundary protecting everyone above, I said. Lumi called it a defense. Brock called it a wall. Cora called it a promise. The chamber accepted one shared purpose. It became the last gate. Every registered resident appeared as a golden point along its boundary. The regent attacked. 2,700 points held. The red floor closed and forced its smoke beneath the seal. "Open the owner's room," it whispered. "You also open my true body." The last gate would hold for 1 hour. We rebuilt one anchor room on every lower floor. Guide, bridge, rest, workshop, guard, kitchen, infirmary, archive, shelter, home. Each honest purpose pushed the darkness downward. On the 90th floor, Cora heated beef broth with thin noodles and herbs. Brock slept against the wall. Varric guarded the stair. Lumi watched the failing map. Cora sat beside me. "When this ends, what will you build?" she asked. "Worker housing, better kitchens, a straight wagon." "After that?" I understood. "One room that is useful because you are there." She leaned her forehead against mine. "Make it 2. Architects need a workroom." The last gate cracked. We reached the 100th stair. The owner's room and the regent's final prison shared one missing wall. Completing it would grant full control and release the enemy. Doing nothing would let it climb through corrupted rooms. Cora took my hand. The missing boundary fell inward. I used single wall. A low stone segment rose beneath it. The right side leaned. "You made the final wall crooked," Cora said. "It has experience." The owner's room closed. The system asked its true purpose. Ancient banners and a throne suggested command. I placed my hand on the wall. This room exists so everyone above has somewhere to return. Cora added that it existed so we could build tomorrow. Lumi said nobody inside would be forgotten. Brock said walls should face outward. Varric placed his command seal on the floor. Authority should protect people instead of owning them. The relay carried the question upward. Students, workers, teachers and soldiers described the place they wanted to return to. The room accepted one word: home. Activation required 10,000 mana. My reserve held 500. Residents supplied 4,000. The treasury cores supplied the rest.
30,000 gold dissolved into light. The system unlocked Territory Lord. It did not grant a second cheat. It allowed every connected room to apply its honest effect toward first home. 100 floors aligned into a single golden tower. The Hollow Regent's true body rose through the broken seal. It stood taller than the Root Colossus. 6 stone arms held fragments of erased rooms. A hollow core opened behind its mask. Thousands of residents looked down from golden balconies. It had expected a prison. It found an audience. "Walls end," it said. The first strike carried 12,000 force. Guard rooms divided it. Brace rooms held. Workshops repaired. Integrity fell from 50,000 to 43, then recovered to 45. The Regent struck again. The training rooms counted the defense 4 times. The wall became stronger. Brock laughed. "It is doing what I did." "And what Varek did," Cora said. The national relay displayed both earlier defeats. Even the capital laughed. The Regent changed tactics. It erased 20 room purposes. Kitchens became empty halls. Workshops became piles of tools. Dormitories lost recovery effects. People remained. Pell raised his hammer. "This is where we fix what breaks." The workshop returned. Cooks lit ovens. Healers lifted the wounded. Students named the people waiting for them. Every purpose returned stronger. The Regent's mask split. Lumi aligned 6 casting towers. Soren fired from the highest. The spell doubled through every tower until Brock wrapped 64 times its original force inside an iron charge. It struck through the hollow core. The mask shattered. The Regent remained. There was no creature behind the opening. It was the empty space itself. Damage only gave it more broken places to inhabit. Cora understood first. "Make the core a room." The crystal ring formed 5 boundaries. One side remained open. The Regent swung toward us. Varek blocked one arm. His shield broke. Brock stopped another. Lumi chained the third. I had 8 mana. Single wall cost 8. There was no loose stone. I removed 40 kilograms from the first crooked boundary beneath my hand. Using stone from the wall that began first home, I closed the Regent's hollow core. The system asked for a purpose. "Storage," I said. It rejected the answer. That was only a function. The Regent reached for Cora. I pressed my palm against the new wall. "This room exists to hold what we haven't repaired yet." The purpose was true. The hollow Regent folded into its own core. 6 arms became smoke. The shattered mask became stone. Every erased room name returned to Lumi's archive. The final wall's durability measured 18. Then workshops reached it. 100. Brace rooms linked. 1,000. Guard rooms joined. 10,000. The owner's room completed the network. 50,000. The same crooked wall that earned 1 examination point now held the enemy that threatened the kingdom. Every relay showed it. For 1 second, nobody spoke. Then 60 cities erupted. The Bureau withdrew every claim. Varek signed recognition of First Home as an independent, protected territory. 20,000 gold remained in the treasury. "Dungeon training,"
Course sales and workshop contracts produced 3,000 gold each week. Every repair worker received 5 gold each week and free tools. The academy left my original examination score on the board. Tess added 1 line beneath it. 1 point built first home. 3 days later, we held a feast in the northern courtyard. Workers roasted beef and chicken over open fires. The kitchens served buttered potatoes, honey carrots, dark bread, soft cheese and mushroom soup. Royal soldiers ate beside students. City families brought flowers for the rooms that sheltered them. Lumi's first solid meal contained too much pepper. Nobody was surprised. Cora found me beside the first training shed at sunset. She spread a plan across the repaired door. It showed a small house above the northern wall, 2 bedrooms, 1 workroom, 1 kitchen, a wide window facing Redstone. "You said 2 rooms," I told her. "Plans improve." "What is the second bedroom for?" "Guests." "Lumi?" "No pepper inside." "She will reject the room." Cora laughed. Then she looked at me with the same expression she had worn when 500 people saw a useless wall, and she saw a closed manor line. "You still owe me for the first architectural lesson." I paid with an apple. "That was the first payment." I took her hand. "Build first home with me." "Only if the kitchen is straight." "No promises." She kissed me before I could calculate the cost. In my old life, the first wall killed me. In this life, my final wall gave everyone somewhere to return.